Most guitar players have no clue about their scale education level. They don't know which scales are good to start with or when they should use scales that they do know and understand. You know, generally, unfortunately, the perspective of scale education is pretty weak, especially for the introductory and to the intermediate level student. Even some of the, starter advanced type students can have a lot of trouble understanding the level of skill that's important to learning to play guitar solos, to compose, to write melodies. And because most guitarists can't even really guess the basics of this, on this week's Guitar Blog Insider, we're going to break down a short list of scales to help you better grasp where you are in your knowledge of scale education. A lot of guitar players begin by learning scales in one of two ways. Either they'll learn scales from the blues and rock perspective, or they'll learn scales from more of a classical or jazz education direction. Now, if you have a rock and a blues approach, you'll probably learn the blues scale and minor pentatonic as your mainstay scales in the beginning. If you have more of a classical or jazz teacher, you probably learn scales from more of the major scale and natural minor scale approach. Now, either way is good. It doesn't matter a whole lot which approach that you get first, as long as you don't spend too long of a time, let's say years and years on one of those and no idea of the other direction or something. You have to learn both of these directions as time goes on in order to fully start understanding where all these scales can be applied musically. Well, let's get started here by breaking down both of these scale ideas. We're going to begin with this classical and jazz approach. Now, I like this approach a lot. It seems to be kind of a less common approach to use, with students. And most of the time I find in my own school here that pentatonic seems to be the mainstay direction that people start with in learning scales. But I think the classical and jazz approach of really doing the full major scale and the full natural minor scale and learning the differences and the correlations that both have, I think it's really a good way to approach it. I think it's too bad when you only get the pentatonic and the blues scale approach. But we're going to take this other approach into consideration. We're going to format them this way, and I think it's going to be helpful for you to go off into other directions. So let's get started here with the major scale and the natural minor scale. Well, let's get started with the basic major scale. It's the foundational scale in music. Probably learned that when you were in elementary school, going do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. We can draw other scales from it. We can make it important to theory comparisons. We can do all of our key signature theory with it. Plus, it's also the basis for the major scale modes. So if you ever want to play, like Santana and get that Dorian sound in there, or maybe get some Mixolydian going, then this is the scale to get really good at it and understand the formatting of. Now, the most common major scale pattern looks like this when it's played off the sixth string. And this scale shape, it can be moved all over the neck to produce major scales in all the keys off of both the sixth and the fifth string. After you move across all six strings, the pattern may change a little bit because you're going to need to take care of the tuning difference that you have between the third to the second string there. We have a little major third instead of a perfect fourth as with all the other strings. So, that's going to change up a little bit. But I have a tip of another video that I'm going to get you to move over to and watch next after this one. That'll really start clearing a lot of this up. It comes with a great handout and it's completely free. You don't even have to be a member of my website to get it. But anyway, moving on to this one again. And, just understand that once you get this shape down, you can play it anywhere off of the sixth or the fifth strings. Very good for exercises and training. Just practice it going ascending, descending. That's the major scale. Now, the next most important scale is actually a derivative of major scale. It's called natural minor scale, or in modal terms, it's called Aeolian mode. Now, really what the minor scale does is it uses the exact same notes as the major scale, but we simply start and end on the sixth tone of the old major scale. So let's say that, perhaps I was on a G major scale, right? And I counted up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I wind up on an E. And I'm also going to use the open 6-string E to demonstrate this. So if I, instead of playing a G major scale, if I instead played it off of an E, still using all the same notes as G major, but instead of starting and ending on the G there, instead now I'm going to focus on the E as being my principal tone. What happens in that case is we have a new color that's generated because we've established a new order of the intervals, changing as we travel from one tone to the next off the new starting note. Now you can do this with any major scale. If I went to an A major scale and counted 6 tones higher, A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And if I played an A major scale but off of an F sharp, what I've done is I've established its relative minor called the natural minor. Now, this is really good stuff to understand, and what happens when we play a major scale off the 6th degree is we just instantly get the natural minor scale. Now, let me show you though the most common shape for natural minor on the neck. I'm going to take it over to an A now and play the shape for you. There's a very common shape for this scale. You can slide it anywhere you want. And you can play it off 5th string too. So any way you place it, you get a natural minor scale. So those are the two that I would suggest starting with and become very familiar with. They're good because they're excellent for technical practice, and they're really the foundation of what's happening in music. So I like these as a starting point, and what we're going to do is take a short break, but we're going to come back later with some more scales that are really common. You might even know them. I'll give you a hint. It starts with the letter P. It's a pentatonic scale. All right, now that we've explored both the basic major and the natural minor scale, we'll take another turn on this and look at some derivatives of those scales, which are going to be the minor pentatonic, the blues scale, and the major pentatonic. Now, these pentatonic scales are derivatives because they're a portion or a part, or you could say a section of the full 7-tone scales. See, these derivatives, these pentatonics, they only contain 5 tones, or in the case of the blues scale, we have an additional 6th tone that's an altered note that works as a passing idea, and they are just portions of the full 7-tone basic major or natural minor scale layouts. So this is going to be quite interesting. We're going to have a go at learning some of the scale shapes now for the pentatonic patterns. All right, let's start our pentatonic studies off with the minor pentatonic scale because it's probably one of the most popular scales used by guitar players. All it does is actually just remove the 2nd and the 6th tones from the natural minor, leaving us with a scale that has 5 notes. There's no half steps in it, so it's great for creating melody. And as someone once said, I'm not sure who said this, but it's a saying I've known for a long time, the pentatonic has just enough notes to make you sound good, but not enough to get you in trouble. I love that saying. It's hilarious, but it's so true. So let's take a spin through this popular pattern, this layout of minor pentatonic. It'll help you become familiar with it, what I'm talking about here on guitar. So here's the shape. So you have that whole step plus a half step on that low string there, and then we start to a bunch of whole steps carrying on 5th string, 4th, and 3rd. Then we have a whole plus a half, and another whole plus a half on the top. So you probably know this shape. It's super popular, and if you know this one, you may even know the next one I want to show you. It's the shape of the minor pentatonic with the diminished 5th tone. It's a chromatic passing tone between the perfect 4th and the perfect 5th, and what happens is when you put it in there, you get a scale called blues scale. This pattern is really popular. It sounds really cool in all kinds of chord progressions, all kinds of harmonies, especially blues-based ideas. All right, so that's a really nice one, blues scale pattern. All right. Now, the last one I got for you is the major pentatonic scale. It's going to be our final scale for this basic scale educational formatting system that I've got here for you. And this scale, you know, along with minor pentatonic, make up the most popular scale types that are important for playing guitar. You know, if you've ever seen my frying pan video, it's kind of a, you know, famous video online for guitar players. It talks about, you know, major and minor pentatonic. Well, the minor pentatonic one is called the frying pan shape, and then the major pentatonic is called the toothbrush shape. And they're just fun, kind of, you know, joking around videos, but it just demonstrates how these patterns can flow along the length of the neck. And, you know, just like, you know, minor pentatonic had a couple of notes removed from the natural minor scale, our major pentatonic is much the same. It just removes the major scales, 4th and the 7th steps, leaving us with a 5-tone scale that has, again, no half steps, really good for creating melody. Here's the popular, probably one of the most popular shapes for it on the fingerboard. And make a study of this one. Here's the first octave. Here's the second octave. All right, and then into the lower note. All right, so there you go. That's our major pentatonic shape. Again, you know, this thing can be slid around anywhere you want. Really good scale, great one for, you know, applying around major sounds, you know, if you have a major progression. All right, so that brings us to the end of the pentatonic section. Now you know the important major and minor scales to look at in the beginning when you're studying your scale shapes, and you've become familiar now with the pentatonics that are important. So, you know, we'll wrap the video up. Like I said, there is a scale application video that I want to get you to watch after this. I'll be mentioning it again later in this video. It's called How to Practice Scales. Be sure to watch that. Be sure to get the handout. It is an excellent handout. There's also, with that lesson, an MP3 jam track recording too. So all in all, you are going to get a lot out of that free lesson. Well, I hope that from what we've covered here, you'll be able to move forward and have a better understanding of the types of important scales that you need to comprehend as quickly as possible on guitar. Now, to get a better idea of how these scales sit on the neck across all their popular scale pattern layouts, the next video that you should watch should be my lesson titled, How to Practice Scales. That's the name of it. It's a very simple title, How to Practice Scales. Watch that video. I'll provide a link to that video below, and between my explanation on that lesson plan and the handout for that lesson, the handout is really good. It's 100% free. You don't have to be a member of the site even to download it. It's on the free side of creativeguitarstudio.com. Like I said, no membership necessary at all. Just go there, watch the video. It's a YouTube video, basically. It's just embedded into the site. And the handout, though, you've got to get this handout. It's absolutely excellent. And you're going to not only understand from that information how all these patterns work on the fingerboard, but you'll also start learning how to use them to make music. Anyway, as always, I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on all this in the comments section. Thanks for your time, and we'll catch up again next week on my other channel for another episode of the Guitar Blog Insider. When it comes to online guitar lessons, there's no place better than creativeguitarstudio.com. General membership to the site is always free, and paid memberships to access our step-by-step beginner, intermediate, and advanced guitar programs are offered in reasonable monthly and annual packages. Skype lessons are also available if you need more specific instruction one-on-one to discuss the finer details of your guitar playing. Sign up today at creativeguitarstudio.com. I've got 25 years experience teaching guitar and have written a well-organized step-by-step guitar course. Head over to my website at creativeguitarstudio.com and sign up for a free membership today. Join the thousands of members worldwide who have already enrolled. There's no need to try learning the guitar on your own. Let me help you become the best guitar player that you can be.